What's up everyone, David here. Today we're gonna talk Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne HD Remastered once again. As you've seen with the title of this video, I want to discuss and give my opinion on what's gonna be the state of SMT Nocturne HD once it releases in the West. As we all know, the game released in October of 2020 in Japan. I don't think I have to tell you guys, but there's been a lot of controversy. There's been a lot of talk about this particular release in Japan since it was alright. There was a lot of problems. Let's be honest. Yeah, there was a lot of problems. Now, the game is planned to release in spring 2021 for us in the West, but we recently got the confirmation that Persona 5 Strikers, just like I had in mind, is going to release in February of next year. So a lot of people are expecting a small delay. I asked you guys on Twitter, what were your thoughts on the delay? And some of you were thinking maybe end of April, maybe summer of 2021 for Nocturne. So yeah, it's probably gonna get pushed, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, before I give my opinion on how is the game going to release in the West, is there still gonna be bugs? Is there still gonna be all that little stuff? Before I do that, I wanna list the little things that I noticed that is problematic or that were pointed out by fans for the release of Nocturne in the Japan. Sorry. Now, the first and biggest thing that I keep hearing, or at least one of the biggest things, is the game still has the compressed music soundtrack. And that's even if the official orchestrated soundtrack is already out and available. Yep, so that is definitely something that I feel like if there wasn't already the orchestrated soundtrack available, fans would be less mad because they would be like, oh, it's such a big work to redo the whole thing and put it in the remastered that it's okay if they just gave us the compressed music. But the problem is that it's already available. So the only thing that they had to do was to put the orchestrated soundtrack in the game. Big bummer. The official Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne soundtrack is top notch. So for a remastered, still compressed music in 2020, yeah, it's problematic. So that was the biggest thing that I kept hearing from fans that they were bummed. But the second thing that I heard very often is the lack of quality of life improvements in the game. The 3DS era of Shin Megami Tensei games, we've seen lots of ports, and we've seen a lot of cool additions in games. And those improvements, or those quality of life improvements, they're kind of absent from Nocturne HD. The biggest thing that I personally would have liked to have is during fusion, demon fusion. There is no skill inheritance, which means that when you fuse two demons together, you don't choose the spells that they're gonna get. That's a big bummer, because in all the recent years, you could choose the spells that you want from each of the demons, or which special spells you want on your demons, and that is not available. So sometimes you have to fuse the two same demons multiple times to get one spell that you really want. That's a big bummer. And listen, I'm not a developer, but I've heard a lot of people say that it probably was not a big deal to do this in Unity, to add this skill inheritance feature. So it sucks. It just shows how Atlus doesn't want to put a lot of work in a remaster, unfortunately. But I think that's a bummer, because Nocturne HD is praised by a lot of SMT fans, and it's a classic. So I think it was deserving of those improvements. Listen, there's a lot of other quality of life improvements that it could have had, but that was the biggest one for me, and I don't want to spend too much time on the problems of the game for this one. Now, the last little thing that I noted is random bugs, frame drops, especially on the Nintendo Switch version. And please don't tell me that it's because the Switch is less powerful than the PS4. You're correct, but the reason why I don't want you to tell this to me is it's a PS2 game. Like, I mean, Doom Eternal is on Switch and it's running perfectly fine. So this 2003 RPG, which everything is slow on screen, there's not a lot going on at the same time, there's no reason for frame drops on PS4 nor on Switch. So that's completely ridiculous. There's a lack of optimization here, and that has to be fixed. Now, listen, don't get me wrong, I am still very excited, and I can't wait to replay Nocturne on my Nintendo Switch portably. I think that's going to be dope. And they're still good to this remastered. Voice acting and good voice acting was added in the game. So that's definitely very cool, very exciting to see. The game will now be available on newer platforms, and that's also very good because this game, Nocturne, was not accessible. If you own a PS3, you could buy it from the PS Store, but if you don't necessarily buy digitally like me, I mean, my PS2 is still hooked up. I played Digital Devil Saga this year. Now, with those type of remasters, I'm glad to pay $50, for example, to be able to play it on my newer hardware, especially since now I'm going to be able to play it portably with my Switch. So that's definitely a good plus. The last thing, and some people are not going to consider this a good thing, is that there is a new merciful mode as a free DLC. I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use normal difficulty because I want to have some type of challenge. But I think it's still good because I've heard a lot of people who've played all the Persona games who've played Persona 3, 4, 5, and they're not familiar with SMT. This mode's going to help them. This mode's going to help them, especially the ones that have never played a Megaten game in general, even Persona. That's dope. It's a great addition. It's free, so that's good for newcomers. If you don't like this mode, just don't use it. I mean, there's nothing more to say. Now, I am going to tell you what I think we'll get in the release when the game releases in the West. I don't think we're gonna get the same exact thing because, I mean, Atlus in their blog, they were asked, of course, about the state and condition that Nocturne HD released in Japan, and they said that they're investigating the problems, and that's word for word. They're gonna investigate the bugs and the issues that people were pointing out about various different features that are lacking and stuff like that. There's some things that people want that I don't think we're gonna get, and there's some things that people want that I think we're gonna get. This is what I want to look at today. While you're at it, if we're at it, if you're still here, please give me a thumbs up, guys. That really helps to support the channel, and it means a lot. Now, what are we gonna see? I heard some people say they expect some type of complete remake, or they expect all the features that I listed that were problematic to be here, and I want to debunk that right away. If you've been following Atlus for a while now, I mean, I'm not the longest term fan, but I've been following them for a few years now, and I've got to be honest, if they add every single thing that is lacking, if they correct every single problem for this game, I'm going to be blown away because this is not what they do normally. I think they're going to keep it extremely minimal, but I still think they're going to do some little touches. The compressed music, it's here to stay. The game released in Japan, and if they wanted this orchestrated music to be in the game, it would have been here at launch. The backlash is not big enough. The backlash is not going to change what they're going to do next. That's here to stay, the compressed music. Unfortunately, I'm very confident that it's not gonna move. If I'm wrong, I would be extremely glad. The big improvement, big addition to the game that they could do, such as skill inheritance, I don't think this is happening. The focus for game releases at Atlus is for Japan, not the West. So I don't think they're gonna go back so far as to add new features in the game. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. And once again, the game's been out for 2 months in Japan. I'm sure there was an important development schedule for this game, even if it's just a port. It's still Atlus we're talking about. I mean, they used Unity for the development of this game, which brings me to think that if they wanted to do these additions, it would have been in the initial port. I don't think they're going to go back to do this. Now, there's two things that I think we'll see once it releases in the West. First, and the smallest thing, is that I think they're going to fix the bugs, and I think they're going to fix the issues that the game has, since there's no reason for this to happen. I'm talking here about the slowdowns. I'm talking here about the frame drops, especially in the Switch version. Various little bugs that people encountered in the Japanese version. I think this is going to be fine once it releases in the West. The Western audience, we look at reviews, we look at articles, we're very aware of what's going on, and we're fully aware of what happened in Japan once the game released. We're aware of those bugs, and I've heard some people say Nocturne HD is a lesser version than the initial version, the PS2 version. And that's extremely problematic because it's considered a remaster. Atlus has remastered on their box art. And the game did extremely well in Japan, even with those problems, which brings me to believe that they want this game to succeed in the West. And to succeed, if they want to keep it minimal, they have to at least fix the game. They have to at least make sure that the game runs perfectly fine. There's still going to be some features that are going to be lacking, but at least the game is going to run fine. I think that's happening, definitely. I think that when they said they were looking at fixing certain issues, I think this is what they were talking about. Now, the last thing and the big thing that I think a lot of people are going to be happy about is I am very, 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 very confident that we are going to get a Steam release once it comes out in the West. I think the game is going to come out as planned, PS4, Nintendo Switch, but it's also going to drop on Steam. All right, hear me out. I have 3 reasons why. Now, the PC audience, especially in the West, is extremely big. Atlus and Sega, they recently realized that their games could sell very well on PC. Persona 4 Golden came out in June of this year, and it broke records on Steam. It did extremely well, and Atlus were surprised. And you guys know what I think about that. It's nothing but surprising, but hey, they were surprised. And they've been saying multiple times, and I actually have videos on the matter, saying that they want to go multi-platform, and especially they want to focus on Steam releases. So, Nocturne HD, it's developed in Unity. It would be so easy to port this game to PC. That's the first thing. The audience is big, there's the market for this game, and the potential of Nocturne HD selling a lot of copies on Steam is there. Plus, there's going to be lots of mods. We're going to get the official orchestrated soundtrack in the game. Fans are going to do it. Atlus doesn't want to do it. Fans are going to do it. Skill Inheritance, fans are going to do it. That's if there's a Steam release, so I'm completely down for it. Plus, you guys know me. If there's multiple systems that the game releases on, I am down for that. I've been saying it for multiple times. Put Persona 6 on Microsoft, Nintendo, PC, and of course Sony. Put SMT5 on everything. That's what I would want. I know that there's other things that we have to consider, like deals and stuff, but if in a perfect world, that's what I would want. Now, another reason why I'm pretty confident that we'll get Nocturne on PC is they've been releasing some certain games on PC now. Yakuza is now on Game Pass. The Yakuza series is now on Game Pass. We've recently got the confirmation of Persona 5 Scramble coming as Strikers here in the West. Finally, it's releasing actually 1 year after the Japanese release. It took them 1 year to localize this game, which is completely crazy. It's going to drop in February, and it was initially confirmed for PS4 and Switch. But now, there's also a Steam release, so they did realize that there's a market for their games on Steam, but they also prove that they see that there's a market for their games on Steam. So, dope announcement. I am extremely glad. Strikers is going to release on PC in the West, and believe me, for the type of game that it is, it's kind of struggling on Switch. People who really want to play Strikers on a portable system are going to buy it there. I know I will. The PS4 version, you can play it backwards compatible on PS5. I've heard it runs very well, so that shouldn't be a problem. But it's going to run even better on PC. So, yep, I do think it's going to do well on PC once again. So, what game's going to come out a few months after? Nocturne. Cool. Cherry on top, boys. I can't describe accurately this point, but I can at least tell you that there was notes of a Steam version in the coding for Nocturne HD. Some people that were more used to developing games and stuff like that, they were able to look at the coding for the game and they saw that there is notes of a Steam release. So obviously it's not been announced yet. So I do feel that once they give us a specific date, probably in some type of Nintendo Direct, I think they're gonna give us a date for Nocturne HD. They're gonna drop like a video on YouTube at the same time saying that the same old trailer, but saying that it's coming to PS4 and Steam at the same time. I am extremely confident for this one. So guys, this has been a summary of my thoughts on how I think Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne HD is gonna release in the West. I think it's gonna be dope. I think it's gonna be a good release once it comes out in the West. Even if they just add a Steam version and fix the various bugs, I am fine with that. I'm very sure the game's gonna do extremely well, and hey, I'm gonna be enjoying my time. So if you liked the video, as always, a thumbs up helps. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing for more Atlus and JRPG content. And as always, we'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching.